Hi, Ursula. Ginger. Hi. Better turn mine off.
I invite you to settle in, feel your seat, feel your feet on the ground or on your couch or wherever you are at home, and settle in and open your hearts and ears and welcome the gift of music this morning as Annette plays our opening and gathering music.
Good morning. And welcome to the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, an open-minded, unshaded, open-hearted spiritual home to everyone who values acceptance for all people and care for all life on earth. I'm Reverend Peter Faraday, and whether in person or online, we are very glad you're here today. We also humbly acknowledge that we gather on unceded ancestral Wiyot lands. And this month, we are especially glad to honor National Native American Heritage Month and celebrate November 26th, this Friday, as Native American Heritage Day. To those here in person, thank you for doing your part to keep our community safe at this challenging time by remaining masked and observing social distancing while you're here. The sound of the bell now calls us to a spirit of reverence.
Each Sunday, we light a chalice. It's a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our accompanying words this morning are from number 515 in our hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition. And it's entitled, "We Lift Up Our Hearts in Thanks." For the sun and the dawn, which we did not create, for the moon and the evening, which we did not make, for the food which we plant but cannot grow, for friends and loved ones we have not earned and cannot buy, for this gathered company which welcomes us as we are, for all our free churches that keep us human and encourage us in our quest for beauty, truth, and love. For all things that come to us as gifts of being from sources beyond ourselves, gifts of life and love and friendship, we lift up our hearts in thanks this day. Now, will you please join me as we renew our pledge of fellowship to each other in our aspiration. You'll find it in your order of service, and I believe on your screen at home. May love be the spirit of this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration.
for this precious day, for all gathered here from the far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. For all gathered here and this far away,
That's stupid.
for this love we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. For all gathered here and this far away, for this life we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Now is a time set aside, especially for the younger people of our congregation. We invite children to come up front for a story, a little Thanksgiving-oriented story today, and anyone else who is particularly feeling young at heart can also join them, and of course, parents and caregivers, if that's helpful. So please come on up and join us. Good morning. You want to have a seat? You don't have to, I guess. Whatever you like. Here come some others. I guess I'll come over here. We'll have more room. Just do this. All right. How are you guys today? Beautiful day, huh? I think if you sit or kneel, it'd be helpful for the people behind you.
Might be a little cold on.
So thanks for being here. We have a little information about Thanksgiving, and Bonnie is going to start today.
Hi. When I was about your age, which was before the Native Americans were able to get any of their stories published, and before there was an internet where you could look up information that was different from maybe what somebody told you about, I was told a very simple and happy story about the first Thanksgiving. It went something like this. A group of pilgrims who were fleeing religious persecution, that's like bullying and hurting, sailed on a ship called the Mayflower from England to North America and landed at a place now known as Plymouth Rock. After a very hard winter, the next fall, they celebrated a successful first harvest with a feast of turkey, potatoes, and pumpkin. They invited their new neighbors, the Native Americans, and everybody was grateful. So we have been celebrating Thanksgiving ever since. That's the story I was told.
And that does sound like a happy story. But I think it's a little better now that we know more to share more of the truth about what it was really like that first so-called Thanksgiving, especially now that we have all realized that we are all living on Native American lands that they never wanted us to take away from them.
Yeah, now it really is good to get some facts straight so we can decide what we're celebrating on Thanksgiving.
Well, I think one thing it's important to know is that the Native Americans in the area where the Mayflower landed were a tribe called the Wampanoag. The Wampanoag had lived there for thousands of years. 3 to 4 years before the Mayflower landed, the Wampanoag caught a virus from the earlier European adventurers, and 3/4 of the Wampanoags died. The entire village of Patuxet was wiped out. And that is where the people we call the Pilgrims set up their plantation. That must have been a really painful experience for the surviving Wampanoag. I don't think they felt very happy to see the Pilgrims or necessarily wanted to trust them.
Well, I also learned from studying history that by the time the Mayflower landed, it was December of 1620, and it was too late to plant any crops, no gardens. And that first winter, almost half of the people who came on the Mayflower died. So it's really too bad they didn't know what had happened to the Wampanoag, because if they had, maybe they would have known how to make friends with them, and they might have survived that first winter, but they didn't.
Yes, that is sad. But in the spring, 2 native men who spoke English came to meet the colonists because the surviving Wampanoag needed protection from a bigger and unfriendly Native American tribe that lived nearby. You might wonder how they spoke English if they were Native American. Unfortunately, they learned when they were captured as slaves and taken to England, but then they later escaped and got back home. The settlers agreed to help each other, and so someone named Tisquantum, more commonly known as Squanto, stayed and helped them learn all they needed to do to survive, planting native crops of corn and squash, and how to best fish and hunt in this land.
So it was because of the help of the Wampanoag that they learned how to live here, the Pilgrims. So when they had their first successful harvest in the fall, they all celebrated together?
Well, yes, they learned from Squanto, but the Europeans actually were celebrating the harvest in their old European ways, nonstop feasting and drinking, sporting events, and parading in the fields, shooting off their muskets, their guns. The Wampanoag got afraid hearing all the gunfire that the settlers were getting and thought that the settlers were getting ready to fight. So the king, named Massasoit, brought 90 men to Plymouth, prepared to fight, only to find them all having a celebration. So the Wampanoag were then invited and went out and they hunted some deer and brought those back to add to the celebration, and they all sat down together.
So that was what we think of as the first Thanksgiving. Is that how the Wampanoag thought of it?
Well, there actually wasn't any mention in historical records of giving thanks that day, but it was a very special day because it was a day of peaceful relationships between the Native Americans and Europeans, and that was rare in those times. And as long as King Massasoit lived, he made sure the Wampanoag kept their side of the peace.
Yeah, but after he died, that began to change. And the English settlers ended up killing a lot more of the Wampanoag in wars and through spreading disease. They lost the peace and goodwill. So no more Thanksgiving harvest celebrations together.
Just like happened all over this land that once belonged to Native American tribes. But you know, the Wampanoags survived and are still living within their ancestral homelands in Massachusetts. They are even able to live much as they did then, hunting, fishing, gardening, and gathering. And in the last 12 years or so, they've been learning to speak their own language again and are now passing on their traditions.
Well, I'm so glad, because like all the Native American tribes in this land, they live their lives in gratitude and harmony with the earth. And the Wampanoag always had their own harvest celebrations and still do. So I'm glad they kept their harvest tradition in spite of how the English spoiled the peace. And I really do like that our current Thanksgiving is kind of a combination of the two, the old European ways and the Wampanoag harvest celebrations.
Yes, and as we continue to learn to live in gratitude and harmony with the land from Native people, for us here in Humboldt County, from those who lived on the lands we also live on, the Wiyot, Yurok, and others. So the bottom line is that we can celebrate Thanksgiving, both for the harvest time and for how we have now been able to learn more about the truth of this tradition.
So we all hope that you have a wonderful harvest time with your families this Thursday. And you can now go, and I hope you understand a little more about the truth about the first Thanksgiving. So it's our tradition to use song to send our children to their classroom in the care of the religious exploration team. So the lyrics are in your order of service, and though we aren't singing full voice now, please either quietly sing or hum as we sing our children into their own sacred space.
We are a welcoming congregation and intend that every person who joins us feels seen and heard in this sacred space. One way we do this is by honoring any joys or concerns we carry in our hearts and spirits. So one at a time, those who wish to may come forward and take a pebble or several from the bowl on this stand. Step to the microphone, lower your mask, share your name, and drop and your brief personal joy or concern, or sorrow or gratitude, and then drop them in the bowl, drop your pebble or pebbles in the bowls of water. The ripples formed represent how our cares and prayers move out from this loving community into the world, touching others. This isn't a time for announcements, but rather an opportunity to share from your heart and be held in compassion and or celebration. You can also drop one or more stones and not say anything, but just spend a few moments with your thoughts or prayers. Also, if this is your first time with us, you're more than welcome to come up and just state your name and maybe what brought you here this morning. And you can also input that online and we'll share it here. Once again, take one or more pebbles, share verbally if you care to, drop your pebble or pebbles. Let us begin.
I'm Steve Davis, the brother of Ruth Davis, and it is my sister Ruth that I sincerely seek your best showers of positive thoughts and best interaction if you have the privilege. She's in a difficult mental and physical funk. And I truly hope between now and the next time we gather together, she'll choose and be able to come here too, because this is a fabulous place to be, a wonderful time to be alive and choosing life and living the good life with this Thanksgiving season, with hopes for more and still more great love from God Almighty. So good to see your faces and be here, and thank you for your prayers as well.
I am Debbie Cooper, and this isn't political, nor is it an announcement, but my heart is just so sickened by the results of the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm so disappointed in our judicial system.
Hi, Greg Bloomstrom. This is a Pebble of Joy. Friday was Debbie Harrison's 29th, 39th birthday. I'll let you all do the math.
My name is Beverly Morgan Lewis, and I have two pebbles. The first one is to mark what would have been my mother's 100th birthday this Wednesday. Miss her dearly. And the second one is to celebrate my 44th wedding anniversary this Friday.
I'm John Macklin, and I had a pleasant time with my youngest son, who turned up and spent a.
John,
What, Eric?
can hear you better.
Oh, okay. Clear?
Yeah.
Thank you. I have three sons, and they're all grown and they're out of here, living in other states or, around. And this son is all over the place, and he's single still. And so he popped in, and he had his partner, which is a beautiful blonde. What was the what was his dog? Kind of dog?
Oh, I forgot.
A lab. Anyway, a doughy
Golden lab.
blonde, golden, animal that was beautiful. And we took off and went all on a hike and went all around. And I wish him well. And he's working for the military, so to speak, as coming in and heading up jobs for him. So anyway, that was my wonderful day yesterday, and made me think more of my other kids and those around me. So thank you very much. Let's pass them.
Here, sir, Tom.
In here. Okay. Oh, no, wrong one. Sorry, Charles. I lived so long.
Hi, I'm Bertie Welty, and this is a kind of squished marble-like thing with all sorts of glowing white inside. In gratitude for the teen and adult challenge crew that is now helping to augment our volunteer stuff and building the playscape. They've done a wonderful job for a couple of days, and I'm just really grateful for their coming and helping, and well, I'm excited.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Harrington, your choir director. My heart is just really full this morning, full of a little bit of trepidation and fear as I fly across country tomorrow morning to go and help my mother, my aunt, and my grandmother, who is now 99, figure out a long-term solution for my grandmother because my uncle passed away unexpectedly a couple of weeks ago, and he was a primary caregiver. So this is a little bit of just hopes for safe flights. And this really big rock is for all of you all and the whole community for helping me to get across country, to leave my child for the first time, in the care of my partner and our loving community and family. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Scarlett Tripsmith. I'm your technical coordinator here at Huff, and I will be sharing the joys and sorrows from Zoom today. From Chip Sharp, thank you, Sina Marino, David Marshak, Beverly Morgan Lewis, Laurel Bussey for helping to display the Black Lives Matter and Huff Climate Action banners yesterday from noon until 1:30 at 4th and V Streets in Eureka. Sam Olinar died November 17th at age 91. His story of survival and loving service will be known through coming generations and upholds our faith in the accessible goodness in ourselves and in others. We are so blessed to have had him among us. From Kathy Ennis. My cat Luna crossed over last Wednesday and I am grieving. She was 15 and a half and we were together since she was a kitten. From Chip Sharp, learned yesterday that Eddie Jessup is recovering in a hospital following a successful operation to place a stent in a carotid artery. Sending love to Eddie and Brian from all of us. Edie, sorry. From Sina, my girls are coming for Thanksgiving with their family and significant other. From Ginger and Richard Carceau, please hold Helen Vatcher close as she takes her final road home. And from me and Kim Tripsmith, deep grief and sorrow for my other son who took his life 3 years ago. And yeah, it's hard.
We hold in our care all that has been shared today and know that some things are so large, so fresh, or so fragile that tending to them inwardly seems best at this time. We also hold these tender truths in our hearts and drop one last pebble for all the unspoken joys and concerns that connect our beloved community. We'll follow this with a minute or so of silence during which you can add any other unspoken cares or prayers.
Today's reading is from the book called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Ms. Kimmerer is a professor of environmental biology at the State University of New York, their College of Environmental Science and Forestry in Syracuse, New York, where she is also the director of the Center for Native Peoples and the Environment, an enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Kimmerer's 2014 book, Braiding Sweetgrass, has sold nearly 500,000 copies worldwide and has brought widespread acclaim and interest in her ideas about nature, ecology, and indigenous knowledge. This reading is abridged and slightly adapted from the chapter entitled Allegiance to Gratitude Our old farm is within the ancestral homelands of the Onondaga Nation, and their reserve lies a few ridges to the west of my hilltop. They're just like kids on my side of the ridge. School buses discharge a herd of kids who run even after the bus monitors bark walk. But at Onondaga, the flag flying outside the entrance is purple and white, depicting the Hiawatha Wampum Belt, the symbol of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Here the school week begins and ends, not with a pledge of allegiance to the flag, but with a Thanksgiving address, a river of words as old as the people themselves, known more accurately in the Onondaga language as the words that come before all else. This ancient order of protocol sets gratitude as the highest priority. The gratitude is directed straight to the ones who share their gifts with the world. All the classes stand together in the atrium, and one grade each week has responsibility for the oratory. Today, it's the third grade's turn. Their little faces are screwed up with concentration, and they glance at their teacher for prompts when they stumble. In their own language, one older than English, they say the words they've heard nearly every day of their lives. It starts like this. Today we are gathered, and when we look upon the faces around us, we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now let us bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. There is a pause, and the kids murmur their assent. It goes on. We are thankful to our mother, the earth, for she gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us, as she has from the beginning of time. To our mother, we send thanksgiving, love, and respect. Now our minds are one. The address is sometimes mistakenly viewed as a prayer, but the children's heads are not bowed. The elders at Onondaga teach otherwise, and the address is far more than a pledge, a prayer, or a poem alone. And I'm told that the Thanksgiving address is at heart an invocation of gratitude. But as it goes forward, each element of the ecosystem, and they name each one and talk about it, including the waters, the plants, the medicine herbs, the animals, the trees, the sun, moon, stars. Each is named in its turn along with its function. It is a lesson in native science. It goes on, they say. With one mind, we honor and thank all the food plants we harvest. Since the beginning of time, the grains, vegetables, beans, and fruit have helped the people survive. Many other living things draw strength from them as well. We gather together in our minds all the plant foods and send them a greeting and thanks. Now our minds are one. The kids take note of each addition and nod in agreement, especially for food. Imagine raising children in a culture in which gratitude is the priority. Frida Jacques works at the Onondaga Nation School. Quote, "It reminds you every day that you have enough," she says, "more than enough. Everything needed to sustain life is already here. When we do this every day, it leads us to an outlook of contentment and respect for all of creation." You can listen to the Thanksgiving address. You cannot listen to the Thanksgiving address without feeling wealthy. And while expressing gratitude seems innocent enough, it is a revolutionary idea. In a consumer society, contentment is a radical proposition. Gratitude doesn't send you out shopping to find satisfaction. It comes as a gift rather than a commodity, subverting the foundation of the whole economy. And that's good medicine for land and people alike. Living as a neighbor to the Haudenosaunee, I have heard the Thanksgiving address in many forms, spoken by many different voices, and I raise my heart to it like raising my face to the rain. It has now been translated into over 40 languages and is heard all around the world. The Thanksgiving address describes our mutual allegiance as human delegates to the democracy of species. If we want to grow good citizens, then let us teach reciprocity. If what we aspire to is justice for all, then let it be justice for all of creation. The address, with many more stanzas than the few shared here, concludes this way. We have now arrived at the place where we end our words. If something was forgotten, we leave it to each individual to send such greetings and thanks in their own way. And now our minds are one.
Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Seek and ye shall find. For whoso
So there's this story of a small girl wading and playing in the ocean while her adoring grandparents watch from the shore. Suddenly, a titanic wave appears out of nowhere and crashes over the child. The water retreats, and she is gone. The grandmother's hands shoot to the sky, and she cries, "Lord, how could you? Have I not been a good person and a loving grandmother?" The stricken grandfather joins in. "Have we not given to our church, to the less fortunate, to JPR? Have we not lived a moral life to make you proud?" The grandmother shakes her fist and rails at the top of her lungs. "God in heaven, bring back our grandchild." At this, another huge wave rises up and crashes down. The water recedes, and the girl is there, laughing and splashing as if nothing had happened. Then a voice booms from the sky. "Okay, okay, I returned her. Are you satisfied?" Apparently God is a mix of Scottish and maybe East Indian. It takes a moment for the stunned grandmother to recover, but she finally speaks. "She had a hat." It seems gratitude doesn't come easy for some people. Thankfully, teachers, both ancient and modern, have reflected deeply on how to live with more gratitude and developed practices that can help you and me in that quest. For example, the Vietnamese Zen Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a mindfulness practice that goes something like this. Think for a moment about the gatherings and meals many of us will probably enjoy on Thursday. The feelings of appreciation and the expressions of thanks that we give will surely be heartfelt. But this practice would ask us to consider, are we thankful for the effort people make to get there? Are we really thankful for the producers of the vehicles that brought them? For those who built the roads and developed the traffic laws that allows everyone a decent chance of arriving in one piece? If someone flies in to join us, are we thankful for the airline employees and air traffic controllers who bring them to us safely? Are we thankful, for that matter, for the inventors of the jet engine? You see where this goes. And concerning the food on our tables, we'll likely thank the cooks, but will we pause to truly consider that the things that provide us with pleasure and nourishment were once living beings? Will we remember that before our food could be prepared, it required the energy of the sun, the minerals and water of the earth, and the efforts of farmers, truckers, and retailers to make that grown food available to us? Are we thankful for those who brought us the power to heat our ovens and warm our homes? Will we recall with gratitude whoever taught us to cook without slicing up our fingers or scalding ourselves? Again, you get the idea. So what's this about? Well, in a word, awakening. Cognitive, and you might even say spiritual awakening to a truer view of reality. Because what typically happens through such mindfulness is a falling away of egocentric illusion. The fantasy of self-sufficiency dissolves, and we see how dependent and interdependent we really are on the earth and our fellow creatures, on other people, many now long past, and on the legacies they left to us. The effect is usually a blossoming of profound appreciation for all that we have received. So this Thanksgiving season, I encourage you to take a little time to meditate on what I call the great chain of blessing. For one thing, because it's good for us. In our reading about the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address, Frida Jacques from the Onondaga Nation School said that one effect of the address is that it reminds you that you have enough, more than enough. When we do this every day, it leads us to an outlook of contentment. A growing body of scientific studies backs up this statement, with evidence linking the cultivation of gratitude with better health, sounder sleep, less anxiety and depression, and greater long-term satisfaction with life. Gratefulness is also good for others, it's shown, because it is that in developing an attitude of gratitude often results in more frequent acts of kindness and generosity with people eager to pay forward some of the free gifts that they now realize they have received from their forebears and from the universe. So since the benefits are manyfold, let's consider a few other ways to fill our gratitude tanks this week. Researchers Robert Emmons and Michael McCullough offer a simple but effective one. In a study, they had people keep a journal listing 5 things for which they felt grateful. The entries were intentionally brief, just a sentence for each one. And this was done only once a week. But after 2 months, compared with a control group, the people who kept the gratitude journal were more optimistic and felt happier. They also fell asleep quicker, slept longer, and awoke feeling more rested. This caused Dr. Emmons to advise, quote, "If you want to sleep more soundly, count blessings, not sheep." Again, just once a week, list 5 things you're grateful for. If I did this today, my first entry would be gratefulness for all those who are correcting erroneous and too often intentionally whitewashed historical narratives, underlined white. We heard a touch of this during our religious exploration story earlier. As another example, which many of you are also aware and thankful for, there's the recent name restoration of a nearby state park from Patrick's Point to the original native Yurok name for the land, Sumeg, spelled in English SUE-MEG. The October 7th issue of the North Coast Journal had an informative and touching account of this process. And from that, I'm grateful one of the State Parks and Recreation Commissioners, Sarah Barth, said she didn't consider the unanimous decision a renaming, but rather, quote, "it's restoring a name that was inappropriately taken." The article by Kimberly Ware reports that the Reexamining Our Past initiative that led to the designation of Sumeg State Park builds on Governor Gavin Newsom's formal apology in 2019 for the state's systemic role in the attempted genocide of Native communities and efforts to annihilate their cultures. Newsom's initiative also set up the tribally led Truth and Healing Council to, quote, "correct the historical record and acknowledge wrongdoings," unquote. I think we can be grateful for that. Wrongdoings include those of Patrick Began, the park's former occupant and namesake, who, as the article states, historians believe to be responsible for numerous atrocities, including the murders of Native Americans, among them a young Yurok boy. He lost the property after fleeing law enforcement in connection with the killing. Thank you, historians. Of course, such corrections and acknowledgements aren't everything that's needed to repair what California Natural Resources Secretary Wade Crowfoot called a dark legacy that includes discrimination, violence, and inequity. But the article does quote several Yurok and other Native leaders who expressed the hope and healing such actions do provide. One of these was Yurok Tribal Heritage Preservation Officer Rosie Clayton, who choked up while relating that these intergenerational traumas are not long past. And she knows elders still alive who bear both the emotional and actual scars from being beaten at Indian boarding schools for speaking their language. However, the article also paraphrases her as saying that restoring the name Sumeg carries great meaning for the Yurok people and is an act that bridges past and future. So she said, quote, "It gives a more balanced and just world, not only for Yurok children, but to all children." I'm grateful for such restorative efforts locally and worldwide, including that as Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland of the Pueblo of Laguna is the first Native American U.S. person to serve in the cabinet in U.S. history. Can I get an amen to that? Can I get an A woman? Can I get an A, anyone in between or beyond? I keep doing this. One of these times you're going to get that. And certainly for any human being, traumatic events that bring intense heartbreak or chronic stressors like poverty or other hardships can make it harder to access gratitude. But part of empowerment and healing comes from what we bring to such experiences, how we've prepared our spirits. And if we enter suffering with an awakened awareness of the larger connections that have nourished us and still do daily, we're likely to be more resilient, more hopeful, and more able to ride that tough wave. Because gratitude is a powerful thing. So powerful, the ancient Roman philosopher Cicero declared that gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. So powerful that many centuries later, medieval theologian and mystic Meister Eckhart said, if the only prayer you say in your entire life is thank you, that would suffice. So powerful that, as we heard in the Onondaga language, the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address is known as the words that come before all else. So let's quickly check out a few other gratitude practices, these specific to Thanksgiving Day. And since one of the beautiful things about Unitarian Universalism is that we realize wisdom can come from anywhere, I'm not embarrassed to say that these were taken from a mailer I got in LA from the Ralph's grocery store chain. I really hope you'll try at least one this coming week. So from the Book of Ralph. Number one, pay it forward. If we host a gathering, we can invite guests to bring food pantry donations so that we're not only receiving the gift of food, but are passing that gift on to others. Number two, create appreciation awards. Provide arts and crafts materials prior to dinner and have people make fun little award certificates. Then during or after the meal, take turns giving the awards and sharing appreciative words with each other. Number three, I like them all, but this is my favorite. Cover the table with thanks. Cover the dining table with butcher paper and provide crayons or markers. And before, during, and or after dinner, invite people to write and or draw what they're thankful for. My little addition to this is that after dinner, tape it up on the wall, gravy stains and all, and consider it together. Spend a few minutes with it. Maybe take some pictures of it and send it to distant relatives and friends and tell them that you're grateful for them as well that day. And finally, one more the Book of Ralph didn't mention, though maybe the Revised Standard Version now does, and requires little or no preparation. Turn the lights down low, join hands in a circle, or if socially distancing, just form a circle, and have each person state what they're grateful for. After each person shares, you could light a candle, or drop a stone in water, or ring a chime, and or those gathered could echo words of affirmation. For example, we are thankful for your presence here. UU minister Reverend Victoria Safford wrote a short piece describing a loosely related version of this that her family does nightly. You could do something like it on Thursday or anytime. It's from her book of short reflections called Walking Toward Morning. This one, slightly abridged by me, is entitled Table Blessing. If I choke up a little during this, I'm fine. At our house, the table grace we do does not look like religion. It looks like a hungry, tattered family at the end of a tattered day, sometimes at the end of its rope. We scramble to find the matches, to clear and set the table, to dislodge the cats, and scrape our chairs into place. We light the candles, reach for each other's hands, close our eyes, and sit in silence for as long as the youngest among us can stand it, which is generally up to as high as she can count. Then on most nights, we sing something. Dona nobis pacem, jubilate Deo, shalom, the Mozart Alleluia. The wheels on the bus go round and round. We try to be serious, but really it does not matter what we sing. We are in a self-imposed timeout. The smell of the food becomes real. The sound of our breath and the feel of damp hands, still sticky. These are real. We are home. We have food. We recall that many don't. And sometimes someone says this in a blessing. And where we have been in the day, and where we may go that night or tomorrow, fades away for a time. And we are infused. And time is infused. And something wells up. Something like gratitude wells up, overwhelming, overflowing, nigh unto overwhelming. The whole thing lasts from candle to song about 2 minutes, but the echo, the wake of it, lasts longer. We are trying to be aware. We are trying to be quiet. We are trying to slow down. We are trying to remember our true and real life. We are trying to remember what we love and what to do and how to be ourselves good gifts. A simple yet powerful ritual, because gratitude, by connecting us to things far beyond ourselves, is a powerful thing. Just giving it a little mindful focus can make a secular holiday a sacred holy day. So with that intention, and because regularly giving thanks provides a cornucopia of benefits for all concerned, make it a grateful week and make it a grateful life. Blessed be and amen.
So sitting in that awareness of gratitude and reciprocity, we can now think about offering our tangible gifts to this fellowship that is giving us so much in each other and in the wisdom shared and the love and the music. So for those of us here, you can find a little Venmo thing on your order service and use that to give an offering, or after the service is over, there's a basket over here and you can put a check or cash in. If you're at home, those of you at home, there's information online as to how you can offer your gifts. And if you're making out checks, you can just make it out to Huff, H-U-U-F. So again, you don't need to put anything in the basket right now, but on your way out. So this is such a, each week we ask and offer this, but somehow today it holds more meaning. So enjoy now as we listen to our own wonderful Annette Gurney Hall play another one of Conrad Chee's extraordinary pieces of music.
gifts offered today, and for all the gifts and blessings in our lives. If you're visiting with us today, that is a gift in itself. We can extend an especially warm welcome to you, and would be honored to meet you after the service. Also recall that as the weather likely moves us inside more and more, even though today does not look like it, on coming Sundays, seating will be limited inside to maintain social distancing. So please remember to sign up through the website prior to services, or you can call our office administrator, Bridget Garuti, and just ask her to add you to that Sunday's list. Or you may find yourself in the foyer with an audio-only seat. So, lastly, to help assure everyone's safety, please keep social distance as you exit today. If you'd like to say hello for a moment as you depart, I'll be out front, and then I will join Zoom people after that. So, meanwhile, thank you for being here, and thanks to all who made this service possible. And please do remember to drop your checks or cash in the offering basket here as you depart. And now, returning to a spirit of reverence. May love and wisdom be in your mind. May love and courage be in your heart. May love and strength be in your hands. May Spirit be with you and work through you today and all your days.
So we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. In honor of Native American Heritage Month, all the piano pieces played today were composed by Navajo pianist and composer Connor Chee. Chee made his Carnegie Hall debut at the age of 12 after winning a gold medal at the World Piano Competition. And his solo piano compositions are inspired by traditional Navajo chants and songs. Our own extraordinarily accomplished pianist, Annette Gurney Hull, chose these pieces to play today. So thank you, Annette. You are one of those for whom we have great gratitude. And so in lieu of our usual closing song, we'll end today with a final piece by Connor Chee, Navajo Vocable for Piano number 8. And as you listen, we invite you to recall the profoundly grateful spirit of the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address mentioned earlier, which again concludes this way. We have now arrived at the place where we end our words. If something was forgotten, we leave it to each individual to send such greetings and thanks in their own way. And now our minds are one. So shalom, salam alaikum, blessed be, ashe, namaste, aho, amen.
Heritage